I'll be honest with you, if I was to stop reviewing cases right now, there's a good chance that my iPhone 10's gonna sit inside the Catalyst Impact Protection case.
It's tough and it allows great access to your iPhone. There's something with the edges of this case, the materials of this case, that makes the iPhone very decent in terms of handling. The protection that this Catalyst case provides is also quite impressive given how slim the case is. It's not often I'm surprised by new iPhone cases. Why? Because most case companies will just rehash existing products for new iPhones. It's not very often that companies come up with something new. Take this packaging for example, as labeling for the 6, 6S, and a sticker for the 7 and the 8. What's even worse is that I'll get cases sent to me by innovative companies who just buy products through AliExpress and repackage them. I've given this case a score of 5 A's out of 5. As the title of this video says, this is going to be the one case that rules them all. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to talk about the design of the case, the functionality it offers your iPhone. I'm going to drop it a ton, and then I'm going to tell you why I would choose the Catalyst Impact Protection over the LifeProof Slam, Tech 21 Evo Series, and the OtterBox Signature Clear. And after all that, if you're sold, I've got a discount code for you to use on Catalyst's website.
Real usage, real reviews. Mobile Reviews A.ca. At Mobile Reviews A, Monty and I base all our reviews on actual usage. We've actually had these Catalyst Impact Protection cases for almost since the release of the iPhone 10, and we've been using them. This case is actually on my iPhone 10 probably 50% of the time, which is quite a lot given how many cases I have. Now, full disclosure, I did reach out to Catalyst to see if they would sponsor this video, and they are, which means that I get to do some funner things with the drops, which include hammers, as well as climbing ropes and dropping the iPhone from, well, over the recommended drop height for this case.
Catalyst is known for their tougher cases, and I've been dropping my iPhones in their cases since the iPhone 5s. Their products have gotten better over time as each iteration of the waterproof case gets a little tougher, a little easier to use. Now when it comes to design, the Catalyst Impact Protection is thin and light. It is worth noting that it is a bit wider than the average case, but I personally haven't found wide cases being too problematic with the iPhone 10. Catalyst is coming out with the 8 versions, and I can tell you that this case might be a little more difficult to use on the 8 Plus. To give you a sense of how thin the case is, it will add an extra 17% to the overall thickness of the iPhone 10. The Catalyst Impact Protection feels very solid as it fits your iPhone 10 quite well. I was initially a little apprehensive about the minute give at the top of the case, but it hasn't really bothered me since day one. The materials on the Catalyst Impact Protection looks like they would be very slick, but the blend of TPU they use in the case keeps your iPhone from slipping around easily on flat surface. The handling of the case is decent, as the texture isn't as obnoxious like the spec Presidio grip, but it doesn't result in the iPhone handling like a wet bar soap. I did ask Catalyst if they did anything different, and they did say they use a special blend of TPU along with the micro texture during the case manufacturing process. My only gripe with the case is that clear back will show fingerprinting quite easily. There is a small series of small dots in the back of the clear polycarbonate that will hide fingerprints a bit. Now prior to the iPhone 8 and 10, fingerprints on clear cases really bothered me, but now that Apple decided to use glass on their iPhones, well, the default state of the iPhone is going to be fingerprinty, so this clear back fingerprint issue is, well, it doesn't bother me as much, we'll say. Clear back is slightly raised, so sliding the back of the case along a flat surface won't result it in being scratched. Overall wear and tear of the case is decent. This black Catalyst Impact Protection has been on my friend's iPhone 10 for the last 3 months, and there hasn't been any standout damage.
I've been using this blue Catalyst Impact Protection, and this is a shot of the case after all the awful things I've done to it. It doesn't look like it sucked back multiple 10-foot drops onto hard surfaces, so it wears very, very well.
Accessing your iPhone is great in this case. If you've been watching my reviews for a while, you'll know that I'm a big fan of rotary switches on cases when it comes to accessing the mute switch. It's way better than the tiny cutouts you'd find on similar cases like the LifeProof Slam or the OtterBox Pursuit. Buttons on the case were another feature that surprised me. I wasn't expecting these smaller than average buttons that sit almost flush against the edge of the case to be so responsive. Personally, I would have liked the power sleep button to be a little larger to follow the design cue of the iPhone 10, but that's just me. The edges of the case will allow you to access your iPhone's screen quite easily, which is important because of all the gestures you'll end up having to use with the iPhone 10. Cutouts at the bottom of the case are large enough for third-party lightning cables. The camera cutout has a matte finish to the cutout to ensure that light and flash aren't reflected back into the photos that you take.
The last thing in terms of functionality is the fact that you can attach a wrist strap to the case. And this might not be a big deal for certain people, but it just adds another level of functionality that you wouldn't get with other cases. This is very handy for those times where you're going to be taking your iPhone 10, while you're hiking or doing something with that involves shenanigans, so that, if you were to drop your iPhone, well, it's still attached to your body, which is always a good thing. Because let's face it, the next 5 minutes of drops that I'm going to show you, if you were to use a wrist strap on it, none of it would matter. That's too bad. Now, the Catalyst Impact Protection is an above average protective case. Most cases will say they're protective at a minimum of 4 feet. The Apple guidelines say that cases should be protective to 3 feet. Life-proof cases are protective to 6.6 feet or 2 meters. This thing is 10 feet or 3 meters, which is pretty crazy in my opinion. But I do have to say that it's only 3 meters or 10 feet for the corners. Catalyst is very explicit in saying that the corners provide that much drop protection. The front of the case does not. They don't actually tell me how high I can drop the front. They just told me that if I was to drop it on a pebbly ground or a gravelly ground, that I might break my screen. Really? Now, the first drop I did with the Catalyst Impact Protection case was actually the 10-foot drop. I went straight to it. I went to my garage, measured out 10 feet, and dropped my iPhone 10. There were no issues with the drop or the iPhone in the case. Now, part of me was kind of expecting a slight bend in my device, but to my surprise, there was nothing. So I decided to drop it again, and this 10-foot drop was actually closer to a face-first drop than a corner drop. But prior to the drops, I did sweep the area clear of debris, rocks, and pebbles to ensure that nothing pointy was going to smash the iPhone screen. And well, I can definitely tell you that you should get a screen protector for your iPhone 10 if you plan on dropping your device from 10 feet face first. I decided to go with a slightly more realistic scenario for my next drop that didn't involve ladders and drop my iPhone in the Catalyst case from my second floor balcony, which is a little higher than 10 feet. The scenario might be more realistic for people who can't hold onto the device while they hold the device over the balcony and decide to take a selfie. But the iPhone 10 came out fine with this drop as well. Now, to end off the extreme drop heights, I decided to go to my local CrossFit box. I climbed a 15-foot rope and dropped my iPhone in the Catalyst case from about 15 feet, we'll say. It came out unscathed, but I will concede that this drop was probably less severe than it actually looked because, well, it landed on the black rubber mats that's supposed to absorb some of the sound of people dropping weights, and you can definitely tell that people are dropping weights in this video. But still, 15 feet is still quite the height for the iPhone 10 to travel, well, you know, to the ground. But let's be realistic, the average person isn't going to drop their iPhone from 10 feet. Last few drops in the last few seconds were from about 6 feet, and, you know, my iPhone didn't get damaged in this entire process. The Catalyst Impact Protection is definitely going to protect your $1,000 iPhone 10 from selfie mishaps as you try to take selfie with your favorite four-legged friend, or when you play your favorite pay-to-win games, which requires another $100 gem purchase in order for you to proceed deeper into the game and you end up throwing your iPhone in disgust, or you're bored and you decide to hammer the corners of your iPhone with the Impact Protection to see what would happen. Doesn't it just sound awful when I slow down the footage? Here's the iPhone 10 after all the awful things I did to it in the last few minutes. The front and back pieces of glass are fine. It doesn't look like anything's bent, and it seems to be in working order. Everything seems fine except for the screen protector, which caught the brunt of the second 10-foot drop. But again, it's only the corners that are rated to about 10 feet. I feel pretty confident that the Catalyst Impact Protection is going to keep my iPhone safe from anything I can do to it on a day-to-day basis. I've actually dropped my iPhone a lot more in the last few months due to the juggling act that is known as trying to use my iPhone while carrying my son, so I'm glad that I've got the Catalyst Impact Protection around. So why would I choose the Catalyst Impact Protection over the Life-Proof Slam? Well, easy. The Catalyst Impact Protection offers better handling, offers better access to your iPhone, and, well, offers more protection. Watch how much effort it takes to access the sleep button on the iPhone in the Slam. And good luck trying to access the mute switch if you've got, well, larger fingers. But this comparison is almost unfair given that I've rated the Life-Proof Free Slam at 1.5 A's out of 5. It's 3.3 something in the video, but I updated my scoring system. If you need the full story and you want to know why I dislike the Life-Proof Slam, check out that full review. When it comes to the Tech 21 Evo series, from a scoring standpoint, I've given the Chex Mesh and Gems a score of 4.1 A's out of 5. These would be decent alternatives to the Catalyst Impact Protection, but these Tech 21 cases won't offer as much drop protection. I'm also not a big fan of how exposed the bottoms of the iPhones are with Tech 21 cases, and the flexibility in the case means that there is a higher chance that the iPhone's gonna pop out during a face-first drop. Now, when compared to the OtterBox Symmetry Clear, the Impact Protection handles better and will wear better. OtterBox designed their cases to have rubbery fronts and slick backs, so part of the case handles really well, while the other part handles like a wet bar of soap. Now, this isn't much of a problem for symmetries that aren't clear because the back has a bit of texture, but the clear symmetries are completely smooth.
Slick back means that it will slide around easily, and since it isn't raised, it means the back will scratch anytime that you, well, slide the case around. The edges on the symmetry are much more noticeable, and as I mentioned earlier, this is going to be a big deal for the iPhone X and its gestures. You don't notice the edges on the Catalyst impact protection. You will notice the edge on the OtterBox symmetry. With my updated scoring system, the symmetry only gets a score at 2.7 A's out of 5. It is bigger, doesn't handle as well, and won't wear as well.
So the last thing that kind of bumps the Catalyst case above the symmetry is the fact that the symmetry is $45 and this thing's $40. And if you use my discount code, which gets you an extra 10% off, that brings the price down to $36. So for $36, you get an incredibly tough case. You get one that handles incredibly well. Your iPhone's mute switch is going to be incredibly easy to access. Like this rotary switch thing, I don't know why other companies just don't do it. I'm pretty sure Catalyst has a patent on this, but this is just so slick. So make sure you use that code if you are planning on getting one of these cases. So that's all I got. If you have questions or comments, leave them down there. I'd be more than happy to answer them. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, I do encourage you to click subscribe as, well, lots of tech videos coming this year. Lots of them. Thanks for watching. We're done, buddy. This is the shortest video that we've done. This is the shortest amount of time that he set up here because I did this video slightly differently.